Hey, look at that weird monster man. That's my dad. Watch your mouth. Well, he looks like a freak, and so do you. Why are you wearing that mask anyway? Do you have ugly, crooked witch teeth? I kicked her in the leg and ran off. What was the point of explaining my dust allergies to an idiot? And how dare she make fun of my dad? Hi, my name is Daisy, and I go nuts around sand, dust, dirt, you name it. I can't even smell a flower without all those tiny things making me sneeze like crazy and making my skin itch. I'd been homeschooled for a really long time, but I just wanted a normal life. I insisted on going to high school, and Dad reluctantly agreed. Sweetheart, you've missed the bus. Let me drop you off today? No, I'll just walk, Dad. I knew I was going to be so late, but I didn't want the other kids to see him. I knew how people looked at him, and I'd heard the hurtful things they said. I was a little ashamed to admit that I was afraid everyone would make fun of me too. My life was hard enough at school. Ow, watch where you're going. Eat dirt, termite. Lana. She'd had something against me since the day I got here. Why did all the mean girls have to be so pretty? Every boy in our class probably had a crush on her, including Keith. Oh, Keith, that boy's smile made my knees shake, and seeing Lana get all cozy with him made me send mental curses her way. May you get fat, Lana, and never fit into that cheerleading outfit again. Hey, that's a cool shirt. I just smiled at him. I could tell Shane was kinda into me, but who cares? He was no Keith. As we walked towards class, I nearly jumped out of my skin when Keith turned to me. Love your shirt. OMG, I was so glad I'd bought this. Love you too. What did you just say to my boyfriend, idiot? I'm not your boyfriend, Lana. I thought we talked about this. I muttered some lame excuse and ran away to the bathroom. Gosh, you'd think there were rocks in my head instead of a brain. Just then, one of Lana's minions came into the bathroom and said that math class had been moved to the art room. I splashed some water on my face and was ready to go when I noticed my mask was gone. Geez, these girls were so petty. I quickly made a makeshift mask out of paper towels and went to the art room. Of course there was no class. How stupid of me to fall for it. Just Lana and her gang of meanies. Hey, ready for some arts and crafts? And before I knew it, Lana had thrown an entire jar of glitter in my face. I couldn't see a thing and dropped my mask. I felt my skin ballooning up. Oh God, I could barely breathe. Keith grabbed my hand and rushed me to the nurse's office. This would have been such a Dear Diary moment if I didn't feel like I was dying. The nurse gave me an anti-allergy shot and a cream for the rash. I felt drowsy after the shot. Keith offered to drop me off at home. My hero. I couldn't believe I was inside Keith's car. What? Why was he slowing down? I just wanted him to drive on and on. We're here, sleepyhead. He opened the door and helped me out, and I suddenly stopped in my tracks. I was wide awake now. I panicked seeing my dad standing on the porch. Oh God, what would Keith think? What if he told everyone? What if he said something hurtful? Who's that? Oh, just a distant relative visiting. So I was wondering if you'd like to go out with me on Saturday. Seriously? The Force really was with me today. I should have worn this t-shirt a month ago. What about Lana? She has nothing on you. I saw you without your mask the other day, and you're the prettiest girl I've ever seen. I felt like I'd shot straight to heaven in a galaxy far, far away. When Keith had driven away, I took Dad by the arm and went inside. Dad, we've talked about this so many times. I don't want my friends to see you. I was worried. I know, but you know how mean people are. When I went down to the kitchen in the evening, I was surprised to see a big basket on the table and a note. It said, "Hope you feel better really soon." Who knew Keith was such a romantic? I couldn't wait to see him tomorrow. The next day at school, I caught up to Keith. Thank you for yesterday. Come on, it was nothing. As we were walking to class, I saw Lana next to her locker. I had to mark my territory and fast. I nervously put my hand in his back pocket. He smiled and put his arm around me. Yes, it was the perfect payback. I thought Lana was going to choke and pass out. I knew I'd have to watch my back, but it was totally worth it. I was loving every minute of being Keith's girlfriend. I just skipped so many steps on the social ladder, and he was just so sweet. My mask broke one day, and Keith immediately pulled one out from his pocket. I always carry a spare for you. I just melted and sank into my chair. Another day, I got to school and saw Keith by my locker covered in dirt. I ran to him, but I had to keep my distance. What happened? Are you okay? I can't believe she'd do this. Who? What were you doing in my locker? I wanted to surprise you, but when I opened it, I got covered in dirt. I wanted to hug him and clean him off, but I couldn't risk triggering my allergy. Just then, Lana rushed over. OMG, Keith, what happened? Here, let me help you. You! Look what you've done! Get your filthy paws off my boyfriend. Cut it out, Lana. You and I are never gonna happen, you obsessed psycho. I tried to go after him, but I knew I couldn't help him. But I knew someone who could. Shane, could you do me a favor? Could you please help him and see if he's okay? Keith just seemed to be in a bad mood for the rest of the day. Nothing I said seemed to get him out of the grumps. I thought the day couldn't get any worse, but boy was I wrong. As I was about to head home, I saw something across the street that made me stop in my tracks. What the hell? My dad was here to pick me up. We would be laughingstocks. Why doesn't Dad ever listen? I slipped through the sea of kids and quickly ran to get away from school and Dad. I ducked into an alley to take a shortcut. I was halfway through when 3 boys blocked my way. What did these jerks want? The boys didn't look much older than me, but they seemed strong. Where do you think you're going, Precious? I told them I didn't have any money, but they kept trying to snatch my bag. Suddenly, I lost my balance and fell into a puddle of mud. I could feel my arms starting to itch almost instantly. They were about to run away with my bag when I saw a shadow looming behind me. Why don't you pick on someone your own size? I knew that voice. Shane! I couldn't have been happier to see him right now. One look at Shane was enough to make them drop the bag and run off. He helped me up and quickly cleaned the mud away. I felt kind of warm and fuzzy looking at him. He offered to walk me home. I had forgotten how easy and fun it was to talk to Shane. I had been so focused on Keith I didn't realize how much I missed this. As soon as I got home and saw my dad, I felt irritated. Dad, why did you come to pick me up? You don't know the kinds of things people will say at school. When I turned to Shane, I saw that he had a strange look on his face. Was he going to say something about my dad? Instead, he sounded really disappointed. Why do you even care about those jerks? I thought you were different and didn't care about what people thought, but maybe I was wrong. He turned and left. Why was he judging me? He didn't know how hard my life was. The next day at school, Shane avoided me. I couldn't care less about what he thought. I was Keith's girl, and he was all I needed. Someone rang the doorbell the next morning, and I opened the door to find a huge bunch of daisies on the doorstep. I gingerly picked up the note, which said, "Some daisies for my Daisy. Happy birthday, babe. Can't wait to take you out tomorrow. Hugs and kisses, Keith." I let out a huge sneeze and slammed the door shut. Sweet, but really dumb. It wasn't even my birthday for a month. He should know better. One day, Lana's minions started following me home after school. I was afraid they'd try and hurt me, but they just turned around and left once I got home. The next day when I got to school, everyone seemed to be laughing at me. Did I have something on my face? Was there a hole in my pants? I quickly walked to my locker and froze. I felt like the world had collapsed around me. There was a picture of me with Quasimodo. It said I was a freak and we should be in a circus. I looked down the hallway and the walls were covered with the same pictures. She had made me into a freak because of my dad. I tore the poster off my locker and ran out of there. I couldn't stop crying all the way home. My dad was surprised to see me back so early, but I just shrugged and went to my room. A little while later, he walked into my room, and I froze when I saw what he had in his hand. The damn poster! He sat down on the bed and held his head in his hands. I saw him shaking. I was horrified and ran over to him. Dad, I'm so sorry your life is difficult because of me, Daisy. No, Dad, I would never change a thing about you. It's not your fault those people are awful. I burst into tears. I felt so terrible for all the awful things he'd read about himself. And I knew it wasn't his fault, but my life in school was going to be hell now. Thank God summer break was just around the corner, and I wouldn't have to deal with school. At least I had my boyfriend to hang out with over the summer, but he seemed to be a bit busier than usual, too. Over the weekend, Keith invited me to a beach bonfire, but me and sand don't go well together. My dad tried to stop me, but I wasn't going to let my allergy get in the way. I wanted to be the perfect arm candy for Keith, and I sure wanted Lana to eat her heart out. The beach party was raging by the time Keith and I got there. Keith couldn't keep his eyes off me, and I was super pleased. He pulled me close and kissed me. Wow. I was still reeling from the kiss when I saw Lana staring daggers at me, and a few feet away, I spotted Shane. But tonight was my night, and I wasn't letting anyone spoil it for me. Keith and his friends were hanging out close to the fire, but the ash was making me sick. I told Keith we'd have to move away. He looked annoyed but didn't say anything. After a while, he said he was going to go catch up with his friends for a bit and just started playing beach volleyball, leaving me all by myself. I was getting bored and decided to see the match up close. All of a sudden, someone bumped into me and I ended up face-palming the sand. My allergies went haywire. My eyes were so swollen I could barely see a thing. Keith pressed my inhaler to my mouth and rushed me off to the hospital. When my allergies had subsided, I looked around for Keith, but found Shane instead. He told me Keith was in the middle of the match and had asked Shane to take me to the hospital. The doctor said that my allergies were really aggravated and I would have to stay indoors for at least a week. I couldn't believe how selfish Keith was. Dad tried his best to look after me, but I didn't make it easy for him. Keith hadn't even come to see me once. He hadn't even bothered to text. How had I not seen this before? As soon as I could get out, I went over to his house. It was obvious that he totally wasn't expecting me. Oh, hey you. What are you doing here? What kind of boyfriend are you? If I'd known how selfish you were, I'd never had gone out with scum like you. We're so over. He paused. Whatever, if that's what you want, babe. It's kind of exhausting being your boyfriend anyway. You suck the fun out of everything. Just then, I heard a girl's tinkly laughter from inside. Lana, you two deserve each other. I I turned around and left. I wasn't going to lose any sleep over this relationship. Over the next year, my allergies kept getting worse and worse, to the point that I had to wear a hazmat suit to avoid contamination. Good thing was that nobody cared. I was back to being invisible. Dad decided it was time for a fresh start. He moved us to the countryside where the air was much cleaner, and I could focus on getting better. I didn't really miss anyone from back home, except Shane. He'd always been there for me, and I'd taken him for granted. I wrote him a letter and said I was sorry for everything. One day when I got home from school, I was surprised to see some people at our house. They told me they were from Child Protective Services and were there to take me with them. What do you mean, take me? We don't think Mr. Smith is a suitable guardian for you anymore, given your current health situation. Guardian? You must have the wrong house. I live with my dad. No, Daisy. When all of the foster homes refused to look after you because of your allergies, he adopted you. I couldn't believe it. My dad was a hero. He chose to love me and look after me when no one else would. I realized he was even more amazing than I'd ever given him credit for. I told the social services people that I was old enough to choose where I wanted to live, and there was no way I was leaving my dad. They said they would review my case file and left. In a few days, the matter was cleared. I didn't have to go anywhere. Over time, Dad and I mended our relationship. I was no longer afraid for him. I couldn't be prouder of the man who raised me, even though I was such a brat. I would watch videos on my favorite channel, My Story Animated, about all these psycho dads who were so mean to their daughters, and I couldn't help feeling even more grateful for my amazing dad. One day, as I returned from college, I found a basket of my favorite things on the doorstep. Keith? I turned around and was amazed to see Shane. Of course it had been him. Keith couldn't have sent a thoughtful present to save his life. I got your letter, and I heard things between you and your dad are better. It turned out that Shane's mom was a protective agency worker who had handled my adoption case from the start. She'd told Shane about it, and he'd confirmed Dad was an amazing guardian for me. I was stunned. He'd always been in my corner. I've always loved you, Daisy. Why didn't you ever say anything? I was afraid you'd laugh at me. Shh.